Tesla had an amazing event at Giga Berlin where they let people tour the factory and they showcased a lot of the next generation Model Y manufacturing techniques they're going to be using at this factory, including the first ever real, like in the wild 4680 structural battery pack attached to a Model Y. I highly encourage you to check out some of those factory tour videos different channels have posted because they showcase some pretty amazing things like the adaptive LED headlights alongside bolting the seats of the vehicle directly to the battery pack so they don't have to slide chairs inside the doors through the manufacturing process anymore because the 4680 pack is kind of the floor now. But it's bringing about the most important question that bizarrely was not really asked at either the Tesla annual shareholder meeting at Giga Texas or at Giga Berlin's factory tour, which is I'm sure the biggest question a lot of us are speculating on: when will the first 4680 Model Y be delivered to an actual customer? Now that we're seeing lots of 4680s at the Giga Berlin factory, and of course Elon is saying Giga Texas is supposed to be online later this year and first deliveries should be by the end of this year, what batteries are those vehicles going to have inside of them? The reason we're somewhat confused is because in a previous earnings call, Elon mentioned that they have a backup plan to use 2170 cells at Giga Texas if they don't have enough access to 4680s for, prime time mass production. And when asked the question at Giga Berlin, someone was saying, where are the batteries for this factory going to come from? Elon responded that, the end goal, of course, the end vision is to have 4680 batteries in all the vehicles coming out of Berlin. They're just working on the cell plant of the factory right now, and that's not quite done yet. But he did say that initially their batteries are probably going to come from China. So currently right now, there's no 4680 battery factory in China, although I'm sure that will come in time. This points to the idea that Tesla might be using CATL's lithium iron phosphate batteries in Europe first, which I honestly don't think is that bad an idea, considering in the European market, longer range vehicles don't necessarily matter as much because the average driving distance of typical car owners there is lower, and there's actually quite a bit of under 300-mile EVs that sell incredibly well there. So if Tesla wanted to be competitive in the European market, starting off with a more affordable option with lithium iron phosphate, and we already know LFP can work in that market as all of the standard range Model 3s in Europe are now using the lithium iron phosphate chemistry because they're imported from China anyway. So in the meantime, at least, it could be 2170 cells from China. That's also a possibility, but it doesn't sound like Giga Berlin is going to start with 4680s, although they hope to be using them by the end of next year for sure. The debate that I find a tad more interesting is the way Elon responded to the question at Tesla's annual shareholder meeting about when the 4680 batteries are going to be out, and if Giga Texas planned on using their own built 4680s from the cell section of that plant, which is looking a lot more complete than Giga Berlin's section right now. So if that section of the factory has a lot of equipment going into it and the exterior is being put together, did Tesla think they were going to be able to produce 4680s out of Giga Texas by the end of this year? Elon's answer was simply no, but also mentioned that the Cato Road battery facility, every time I show you guys videos of 4680 batteries, that's from within that facility, which is just down the road from Tesla's Fremont factory, and Elon said that it's producing 10 gigawatt hours a year of batteries, which is going to be more than enough to supply Giga Texas with 4680s. And he went on to mention they still expect Giga Texas to deliver vehicles by the end of this year to customers. So in my mind, that makes sense that if Elon is saying, no, Cato Road will provide the batteries for Giga Texas during the initial ramp up because it's not going to produce a high number of vehicles at first. If he is using Cato Road as the example, that to me means that the first 4680 Tesla will be Model Ys coming out of Giga Texas by the end of this year. Some people are still speculating that the 4680s are not quite done yet, and Tesla is going to have to resort to their fallback plan of using 2170s, at least in the initial ramp up. But I have to disagree because I think that there's a lot of differences between the manufacturing process of using a structural 4680 pack, especially if you guys checked out Giga Berlin and all the different design approaches you have when you can actually, bolt seats to the battery pack and the marriage between the battery pack and the powertrains to the body of the vehicle. It's just a very different approach compared to the more dated 2170 cell approach, and I don't think it makes sense for Tesla to build up an entire stockpile of, 2170 manufacturing lines only for them to have to next year switch to 4680 anyway, particularly if Elon is now saying on the record that Cato Road is producing plenty of batteries that factories will actually be able to use at a good enough yield. So hopefully Tesla goes more into this during the next earnings call call by the end of the month, but I'm personally very interested to see how Tesla rolls out these batteries, because of course we're all wondering, will the 4680 Model Y have substantially better range? Will it be substantially cheaper? Will the weight be substantially lower? I think that one's kind of a given, but how is Tesla going to advertise the 4680 Model Y alongside the Fremont-made Model Y? And potentially it's because Tesla has a plan to deliver a bunch of 4680 Model Ys to customers that have already ordered, you know, typical dual motor Model Ys, and the reason the estimated delivery is pushed out until April is maybe because Tesla plans on delivering a lot of those vehicles with much higher range than was originally promised on the website. I don't know, but it certainly is interesting to me that there is long-range rear-wheel drive reservation holders on Twitter now pointing out that they are finally getting estimated delivery timelines for their reservations. First of all, it's incredible to me that there's still people who held their reservation for a rear-wheel drive Model Y after like years at this point. They did not budge from that, but now they're finally starting to see their accounts updated, so I don't necessarily think that means rear-wheel drive Model Ys are coming from Texas. It could be that Fremont has decided to start actually producing those vehicles because they'll be a lot cheaper than the $55,000 dual motor Model Ys, but if Texas is able to pick up some of that slack and start providing much higher range Model Ys, or maybe Texas just starts with performance, although some of the leaked images from within the factory showed a lot of prototype Model Y production with 19-inch wheels, so that doesn't look good for my performance Model Y theory. But either way, if Elon thinks that the Tesla Model Y is going to become the best-selling vehicle period by 2023, there has to be some pretty massive change-ups to the lineup, right? Like, they're not going to be able to do that starting at $55,000. We're going to need some rear-wheel drive options, perhaps even a few standard range options, especially in Europe. That would be immensely helpful. But yeah, once we have 4 factories fully ramped, I could easily see Model Y outselling everybody else. But once the production capacity is met and Tesla can keep up with demand, that's when we should expect price drops, and I'm guessing 4680 models are going to have pretty astounding range, hopefully over 400 miles, but I don't know. I'd love to hear your guys' guesses and your guys' theories on when the first 4680 Model Y will be ready. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.